Hey guys! Welcome back to another art lesson with the Bakersfield Museum of Art. My name is Curtis, and today we're going to be covering part 2 of our 2-point perspective lesson. Now, if you've already watched part 1 of our 2-point perspective lesson, that's great. But if you haven't, I would encourage you to go back and watch it. However, if you don't feel like doing that, that's okay. Just follow along the best you can. Now, for this project, you'll need paper, a pencil, an eraser, and a ruler or straight edge. If you've been following along with our 1-point and 2-point perspective videos, you've already learned how to create a 1-point perspective drawing like this, which is of course a kind of a street view, as if you were standing in the middle of the road. Or if you participated in our previous 2-point perspective video, you were able to come up with something similar to this kind of floating cube. 2-point perspective is a really amazing tool that you're able to do a lot with. And today we're going to do something a little bit more complex, and we're actually going to be doing making a drawing of a city street corner. And I think that you're going to get a lot out of this. Now, to start off with, we want to go ahead and create our horizon line. We're going to do that by measuring a point about 3 inches from the bottom of your page, making a little mark, and then we want to go ahead and connect those 2 points using a straight line just across the page. Those first points that you just drew, go ahead and darken those up a little bit, make them a large dot if you like. And those, of course, are going to be our vanishing points for our 2-point perspective drawing. Now, I've gone ahead and marked a small line on the bottom of my page in the middle for where my sidewalk is going to connect. And we're going to begin our sidewalk by drawing diagonal lines from that point to the 2 vanishing points on either side of the page. Go ahead and draw another diagonal line just above that first set of diagonal lines, of course coming from our vanishing point, to create our sidewalk. Now, that may not look like a sidewalk right now, but in a few moments we'll do some more work on it, and it will be a very nice sidewalk. But actually, we want to start the beginning of our first skyscraper right now. We're going to do that by drawing a vertical line towards the top of the page, right where our sidewalk ends meet. This will be followed by drawing 2 diagonal lines towards the vanishing point on either side from the top of that vertical line, creating the top of our skyscraper. These lines don't need to be very long, just a couple of inches. And this is a good thing to remember when doing a 2-point perspective drawing. All vertical lines are going to be just straight up and down, and pretty much every other line is going to be a diagonal line heading towards one of our vanishing points. Now, to create the sides of our skyscraper, we're going to add 2 more vertical lines just at the end of where our rooftop ends, extending down to our sidewalk. And we want to make these lines as straight as possible, so I'm actually lining up the bottom of my ruler with the bottom of my page to help me get a nice straight vertical line. Okay, I'm just going to go ahead and erase some of our unnecessary lines. Of course, our skyscraper is going to block the line of sight of our horizon line. Then I'm going to put a couple of more diagonal lines on the top where later on we're going to put the building's logo for this particular building. Now, I've decided to go ahead and make this a glass skyscraper. I always think those are really cool looking. And it's actually pretty easy to do, but it is a little bit of a process. And what you're going to do is, along the sides of your skyscraper, you're going to be adding vertical lines just from where the sidewalk ends, all the way up to where we put that little diagonal line for our company logo that we're going to put up there later. And we're just going to put vertical lines, and as they get farther away from us, those vertical lines are going to get closer and closer, just as they would in real life. I'm going to go ahead and darken up my building corner just to help me with reference. Then, to complete our windows, we're going to go ahead and do a series of diagonal lines coming from, of course, that vanishing point on either side of our paper. And now these are going to actually be equally set apart because the perspective is going to be correct because they're being drawn from the vanishing point. And we'll go ahead and do that from for the other side of our building. Now, of course, these diagonal lines are going to be drawn from the other vanishing point, and we want those lines to meet up in the middle, connecting all those windows together. I've gone ahead and left a little space at the bottom of my building for adding a doorway later on. Now, this wouldn't be much of a city block if it only had one building on it, even if it is a skyscraper. So I do want to go ahead and add some more buildings. The first one I'm going to do is actually going to be one that is underneath our horizon line. And to do this, we're going to build it in much the same way that we did our skyscraper. However, because it's underneath our horizon line, we're going to be able to see the rooftop of it. Now, as you see, I'm constructing this building using lines from our vanishing points, as well as vertical lines drawn from the bottom towards the top of our paper. Now, as you can see, this building is somewhat obscured by the larger skyscraper in front of it, and I've used diagonal lines coming from the left-hand side of the paper to define this building's rooftop. And I'll go ahead and leave a little space to put this business's name on the top of it. Maybe create a little doorway by using some vertical lines, followed by, of course, diagonal lines coming towards that vanishing point. And I'll go ahead and do the same to create a little window on the side. Now, to finish this building, we'll also want to draw a diagonal line coming from the left-hand vanishing point towards that bottom corner of our building. And that's going to define the building from the ground. Now, getting back to our sidewalk, to make the little lines in our sidewalk, we want to go ahead and draw diagonal lines coming from the left side vanishing point along the side of our sidewalk. We want to make sure that these are getting closer together as they get further away from us, just like on our windows that we drew earlier on our skyscraper. And then it'll make the sidewalk a little bit more realistic looking. In addition to the lines on our sidewalk, we also want to make the street that runs parallel to our sidewalk. And to do this, we're just going to draw some more lines diagonally from these vanishing points coming towards us. And once we have those in place, we can go ahead and make the top lines on our sidewalk coming from those opposing vanishing points. Then, to finish up our street, I'm going to go ahead and add the street markings by just adding some dashes along the way to our vanishing point. Do the same for the opposite side. And these can get shorter as you get closer to the vanishing point. Now, I've gone ahead and started another building just to the right of our skyscraper, using the same methods, of course, that we used to construct our large building as well as our small building. But for this one, I'm going to do something a little bit special. I'm going to actually give it a little a patio. Now, to accomplish this, I'm simply going to cut away some of the portions of the building while adding some more lines to represent that the structure still exists in those certain places. And to make it look correct, I'm going to go ahead and add the underside of the roof of that patio. Now, at this point, I'm hoping that you're grasping the fundamentals of how a two-point perspective drawing works. As you can see, you can really do a lot with it, and it's my hope that you'll continue working on your drawing and will hopefully end up with a good amount of practice. Now, me personally, after a few more minutes of drawing, I've come up with this. So as you can see, the more buildings and small details that you add to your city street corner, the better it's going to look, and also the more fun it's going to be. So go ahead and give it a shot. But once again, thank you so much for joining us here at the Bakersfield Museum of Art for another online art lesson, and I really hope you join us again soon. Thanks, and have a great day.